Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining our elementary tour here at the Australian International School today. My name is Elle Richer and I'm one of the admission managers here. We have a wonderful panel of teaching staff on the tour today who will take you through some of the learnings here at AIS. Just before we get started though, I do have a couple of points just to go over with you. Please be aware this is being recorded. Can I also ask everybody to please turn your microphones to mute until a little later in the session where you will have an opportunity to ask questions. Also, the best way to enjoy today's session is by ensuring your Zoom is set to speaker mode. You can enable that speaker mode by clicking in the view on the top right-hand corner of your screen and selecting speaker. Thank you. I will now hand over to our wonderful head of the elementary school, Mrs. Emma McCauley. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Elle. Welcome to today's virtual tour of our spectacular elementary school with both state-of-the-art facilities and outstanding educators. What I love about AIS is the sense of community and belonging that you feel when you enter the gates. And as I say to all families, it is perhaps one of the best decisions we have made as a family to work at AIS and have our children experience an AIS education. As Al mentioned, today you will be treated to a snapshot of key learning spaces and playing areas and meet with some of our staff. Shortly, I will show you a glimpse of our outdoor spaces in the lower elementary area. We will then move to the Year 2 learning space, followed by one of our art and music studios, and you will then enjoy a walk through one of our libraries and our Year 5 learning space. We will then conclude with a Q&A session with myself and Neryl Patel, our Deputy Head of Elementary. Currently, I am positioned in the lower elementary end of the elementary school that spans approximately 1 kilometre from end to end. This outdoor space is a hive of activity, as you can probably hear in the background, from dawn to dusk. In the early mornings, you will see students engage in co-curricular activities, playing and interacting with friends before lessons commence at 8:30 a.m. The lower elementary outdoor space is also used for our PE lessons. Students in Year 1 and 2 absolutely love playing on a range of equipment, climbing and basketball areas during recess and lunch. And not to forget, we have our very own Billabong Cafe, a wonderful meeting point for our students, staff and parents. I will now hand you over to Mr. Theo Manzi, our Head of Art, to share with you our outstanding art program in the elementary school. Enjoy.
Morning, everyone. My name's Theo Manzi, and I'm the Head of Art here at the Australian International School for the elementary. You're now standing with me in one of 4 purpose-built visual art studios where the students from prep right through to Year 5 attend one 80-minute lesson per week with a specialised art teacher. Now, the visual arts program is quite exciting in that we endeavour to ensure that we have a balance not just with traditional artist practices, but also contemporary artist practices. The traditions being like what you're seeing now, where the students are looking at still life art representations, but then we also may look at things in a contemporary framework such as digital manipulation and photography. As well as having a balance between traditional and contemporary art frameworks, we also ensure that we have a balance between not just art making, but art understanding. So our art making program is 50% of what the children engage with, but they're also engaged very much with art understanding, and that's looking through and researching about art and discussing art and contemplating and commenting on each other's art. The studios are purpose-built for this age group, so the benches are the correct height for a younger age group. The materials that are used are also relating to the age group and they're age appropriate, as well as having a balance within the visual arts of tradition and contemporary work. The students are also engaged with linking, in many cases, their units to some of the work that they're studying in class. This example that we've got here is a standalone visual art unit that's being addressed with our Year 3 students. Our Year 4 students at the moment are looking at how art can represent how we feel, and that's linked to a unit that they're doing in class about how we express ourselves. Throughout the year, at least one unit from what the classroom teachers are studying in class is linked to their single subject in visual arts. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little glimpse of our art studio and our students at work. I'm now going to pass you on to our Head of Music, Mr. Wayne Elliott, who's going to talk to you about our music program. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Theo. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to one of our music spaces in the elementary school. My name is Wayne Elliott, and I am fortunate to be the music coordinator of the elementary school at AIS. We are extremely proud at AIS to have dedicated and very well-resourced music spaces for our students to learn about and build on their creativity. Each of our 4 music classrooms is resourced with tuned and non-tuned percussion instruments and a full class set of ukuleles. At AIS, we believe that students learn best about music when lessons are practical in nature. Our lessons are focused on music making so that students can experience and make meaning of both musical and broader transdisciplinary concepts through the playing of, listening to, and responding to varied genres of music. Each class in the elementary school attends 2 40-minute sessions per week with a specialist music teacher. We're very fortunate today to see this Year 4 class in action. And xylophones. Let's go in and have a listen while they are exploring some new rhythmic and pitch concepts in this song, Tidy-O. Just lovely. At AIS, we're also very proud of our co-curricular program, which pleasingly is reopening with the easing of restrictions here in Singapore. We have string ensembles, wind and brass ensembles, percussion ensembles, and we are looking forward to having our choirs restarting as soon as safe management measures allow. At AIS, we also support a very large instrumental program that allows students to participate in private instrumental lessons with music teachers who teach on campus to deliver lessons in piano, strings, guitar, brass, woodwind, and drums, just to name a few. We have a suite of studios here that you can see in our lower elementary school, and they are very well resourced for our private music lessons. I hope you've enjoyed this musical part of the tour, and it's now my pleasure to hand over to Miss Patel up in Year 2. Have a great day.
Thanks, Wayne. Good morning, everyone. Nirul Patel here, the Deputy Head of Elementary School. I'm actually up here in Year 2, and as you can see, we've got a group of children here working with a Year 2 teacher. This is our area for our future scientists, technology experts, engineers, artists, and mathematicians, where they get to create, collaborate, and communicate all through technology. As you can see, the children are totally engrossed and they're loving every minute of it. And then here in another shared learning space, we've got their Year 2 library, and you can see children are engaging in books. It's such a lovely open area that all the teachers can use, and the children can come out freely. They use this as an extension of their classroom. And as you can see, it's a great environment for your child to learn in. I'm going to now pass it to Mr. Brady Klein, who is up in the Year 5 area.
Good day, everybody. We're here in the Year 5 area, one of my favorite parts of the school. Brand new, remodeled, great open spaces with flexible walls that open up for lots of great collaborations. Right now, we have mostly closed up for obvious reasons right now with COVID, but we like to open these walls up to have really, really great dynamic spaces with teachers working together and students spilling out into all of our learning spaces. Like the other areas you've seen, we have class library here. And let's just go ahead and have a look into one of the classrooms so you can see our approach to creating a really dynamic shared space. You can see here, we have the students writing on the walls. This isn't just the teacher setting up the room. This is a co-constructed space where the students are responsible for creating a space that is a learning space for them. And right now they're studying about migration. You can see that carrying on over here with the units of inquiry. And you can see that they're really focused on really big, important skills that they need for life. Social skills, self-management skills, thinking skills, communication skills, not just memorizing a bunch of facts. So let's move on to the rest of Year 5. As we walk through, right now we have most of our classes are in Chinese. Every day, our students have one lesson of Chinese. So they have a real opportunity to become strong Chinese speakers. And right now they're just going through a little bit of practice, and we won't disturb them too much. As we come through here, like the rest of the school, we're very well resourced. So our teachers really have a lot of dynamic things to work with. We can walk through, you can see we have some wonderful EAL rooms for our English language learners, dedicated space for our students to work in small groups to improve their language skills. And we have some classes that have just run out to their PE lessons. And they just here, you can see also that they've been working in a really dynamic space, blending, using their iPads, their math books, and working together collaboratively. So from here, I think we will go ahead and pass it back to Ms. Macaulay.
Just before we have Q&A, we cannot finish a virtual tour of the elementary school without visiting our spectacular library in the upper elementary. So I'll hand you over to Miss Michaela Dalglish.
Thank you, Mrs. Macaulay. I like that we left the best part of the school till the very end, because for many of us, there's nothing quite like getting lost in a good book. Reading can transport us to another world, providing escape from life's everyday stresses, at least temporarily. Here at AIS, we are very fortunate to have 4 dedicated library spaces across our campus. Hi everyone, my name's Michaela Dalglish, and I'm the teacher librarian for the upper elementary students. Those are our 8-year-olds to 11-year-olds. Today, I'm thrilled to share one of our library spaces with you all. This particular library space is known as the Link, and we service the library needs of students from 8 years old to 17 years old. We feel that the AIS Library Network is the heart of the school, and as such, one of our extremely important roles is to provide access to information and resources which support our AIS staff, students, and parent communities. Our library setup is quite unique. As I mentioned, the AIS Library Network team is one library with 4 branches located in each of our sub-school areas. Our branches house fiction and non-fiction collections for leisure reading, as well as an extensive collection of non-fiction resources for research purposes. We currently have over 62,000 resources ranging across print-based and web-based materials, which all of our staff members and students can access 24/7. Our library team take great pride in being able to recommend current and topical literature, organise book clubs, and promote upcoming webinars and popular podcasts and author visits. Our libraries aim to provide access to information and resources which assist our reading community to widen and expand their reading diet. In library lessons, students learn strategies to help them determine a good fit book for them. We encourage students to select a range of different books across genres, including picture books, which is no secret to the students, are my absolute favourite. Picture books provide windows into other cultures and beliefs, as well as at times mirrors to reflect our own. High quality contemporary picture books are works of art, sophisticated visual narratives which invite discussion and debate. The language in quality picture books is often complex and the storyline sophisticated. The illustrations extend upon or enhance the text, and talented illustrators embed visual literacy elements in their work in order to add meaning and convey messages. Our collection promotes and supports true multiculturalism, a celebration of diversity as our students work towards being internationally minded and globally focused. Also, as part of the library program, and in conjunction with the teaching in the classroom, students learn to navigate our library management system to independently search and locate resources within our library. Throughout the year, they also expand their knowledge and understanding of information literacy and digital literacy, literature knowledge and development, which is learning to critique the author and the illustrator's craft, as well as research skills. We're also starting to incorporate virtual reality and augmented reality components to our library program too. It's a very exciting, inviting, and some would say booktastic space to visit. We look forward to unlocking the doors to the world of reading for you and your child next time you visit one of our AIS Library Network branches. I can now pass you back to Mrs. Macaulay, who'll continue the virtual tour.
Thank you, Michaela. Elle, did you want to start first or?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So we're now at our question and answer part of the call. And parents, please, if you have questions, if you can pop them in our chat function or take yourself off mute and just ask them directly and we'll be able to answer them for you. While we're waiting for our parents to put some questions in, Emma, I was just wondering if you could explain to our parents the difference between the IB and the Australian curriculum and how we teach it at AIS, please.
Great question to start us off, Elle. And look, I just wanted to reiterate, you know, the educators you met today are a snapshot of the wonderful educators that we have in our elementary school. I've worked in many schools and I just cannot speak so highly of them, and I just feel extremely privileged to work and learn with each of them daily. In response to your question, we are an international baccalaureate primary years program school, but that is a curriculum framework. So as an Australian school, we implement the Australian national outcomes, their benchmarks, and we report to the Australian national outcomes. But our outcomes fit into the IB curriculum framework. So if you can imagine, the IB is the curriculum framework and the Australian outcomes are mapped according to the IB 6 transdisciplinary themes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emma. Just to carry on from that, the first question that we have, sorry, it's Narelle, sorry, I just said that wrong.
Narelle, you've got it right.
Oh, fantastic. The first question that we do have popping up is regarding a family that's moving from a Northern Hemisphere curriculum and over to us. And with the Australian curriculum, will there be a lot of gaps for their child's learning?
To be honest, I don't think there are going to be lots of gaps, but if there are, we will identify those, but we will also put things in place that supports that child. I don't think it's a big issue if you're moving from a Northern Hemisphere to Southern Hemisphere at all. That's part of international schooling, and our teachers are very, very well experienced in dealing with those situations, but also they differentiate their program based on the child's needs, so the gaps won't be a concern at all.
Fantastic, thank you. My two children actually moved from Germany over to here, and you're right, it was very seamless to move in, and it was quite nice for them as well to have that little bit of luxury of perhaps feeling like they knew a little bit of the curriculum as well, because they sort of moved back in that 6 months, so it is great. Emma, I've got a question for you around exams. Do our children in elementary school sit exams? And if so, how often and how are they assessed?
We have both what we refer to as quantitative data, which is our standardised testing, and also qualitative data. We sit because we report to the Australian National Outcomes, our students sit NAPLAN for our years 3, 5, and in secondary 7 and 9. So that's our main standardised external examination. But along when you'll begin, you'll get a schedule of all the data points of all the different assessments, some of which are those standardised assessments, and there's other ones that aren't. So it's what we refer to as an assessment package.
Fantastic, thank you. And another question just about IB that's just popped up, Emma, if we can continue on that, is are you having the IB curriculum for all years or only the elementary school?
The IB is in place for our 3 and 4 year olds in the early learning village, right up to our year 5 students. And then the students will move into secondary school, where they continue with the Australian curriculum, and then they have a choice of IB or HSC in year 11 or 12. So the IB probably doesn't sit between year 6 and year 10, but that continuation of the Australian national curriculum does.
Fantastic. Neril, I've got one here for you. My child doesn't want to move to Singapore and start in a new school, which is going to be hard for them. How can AIS help them settle in?
Well, I'm new and I can tell you how we settle in, and I've settled in. It's a community here. It's a family here. So your child will be looked after. We have a great wellbeing program, which is implemented throughout the whole entire school. And from the moment your child is enrolled, they're looked after by the admissions team to the time that they arrive at school on their first day. There's somebody there to greet them, a familiar face. They walk to their new classroom. They're buddied up with someone. So the nurturing that they need for this big change, and we acknowledge it's change, not only for the child, but also for the parents, it's all there in place. It is a very welcoming place, and you will feel that sense of belonging from the moment you make your decision.
Fantastic, thank you. Emma, we have a family here asking about their son. He has been tested as a gifted child and is currently in a gifted class. What kind of programs or support are available for him at AIS? And is testing to skip grades an option here?
Look, as I say to every parent, every child is a different case, and we look at each child individually. So in response to that last part of your question, it's not a yes or a no, but we definitely be looking at the factors that would be best for your child in that instance. We definitely all our classes, all our classroom teachers, both specialists, cater for differentiation, and there is extension for all students along the spectrum. So we definitely do cater for those students. We have a combination of working in the classroom to support students that have come out as gifted, and we also have pull-out classes as well. So it's a combination.
Fantastic, thank you. I've got, my mum's asked here a question about what's the strength of each class. I'm not sure exactly what we're asking here, but perhaps you could talk about the different specialist teachers for those different specialist classes that we have.
Did you want me to go? Yeah. The strength of each class, look, every grade, I'll give you an example. Every grade brings with it different joys, different experiences, different challenges. So for our preps through to year 5, they all have those specialist classes. So 80 minutes of PE, music, art and Chinese or daily Chinese. That is for all our students from prep through to year 5. There's different points of difference in each grade year level. In year 5 through the IB, we have the exhibition, which is sort of a transition point between elementary and secondary. But also at the moment, what we're launching is listening tours, where the leadership team are inviting parents in each grade group, rather than cross, each grade group to actually just listen to areas of strength, things we're doing really well, things that we could do better to improve on. So that's something, a new initiative that we're launching, and it's termed Listening Tour. And it's really geared to what you're saying about what are the strengths for each grade level, what's unique for each of those levels.
Fantastic. And Nerol, just on from that question as well, can you explain how many children are in each class in elementary?
So it depends on the different year groups, but there's a maximum of 23, isn't it?
Yes.
23. But you can see that there's always 2 adults in the classroom as well, particularly with the younger students. So that support is there for them. And you've got such large learning spaces as well, so that children can, and those groups can be formed. So teaching and learning is not always in one classroom with the same adult. And obviously, as Emma has said, we've got the specialist teachers as well.
Fantastic. Emma, this one's for you as well, please. We have a family here that says we're coming from Japan and my son's English is very low. You did talk about specialist classes, but can you let me know how often he will go and when would he stop when his English improves? So if you could just speak about our EAL classes, that would be great.
And thank you, Elle. That is just a significant aspect of our school, such a huge aspect of our school with changing demographics, the beauty of being an international school. We have an extensive English as a second language program where students are either in the classroom or pulled out for 40 minutes a day. So we have what we refer to as beginners, if it's limited English. They usually go out of class, and then they move through, when their English improves, into what we refer to as the transition class, and the EAL teacher supports them in that learning class. And what we find is when children, like us as adults, when they're engaging with the language daily in play, depending on different children, but that we do find that move from beginners to transition does happen quicker than what we think and very seamlessly. So every year group, another great point, strength of every year group, going back to that question again, is that we've got 2 EAL teachers assigned to every year level to support students, but also to support our teachers to implement the best programs for students where English isn't their first language.
Fantastic.
And I suppose on the back of that, we've got an extensive learning enrichment program as well, which you might have been coming to that question.
No, I just love that there's so much that you want to say.
Learning enrichment program where we have 1 learning enrichment teacher assigned to every grade with 2 learning enrichment support specialists. And look, from my own experience, having worked in many schools, that level of support is significant and is very unique, looking through the eyes of a classroom teacher and also leadership.
Fantastic. Nerol, we have one here around supplies in school. Do we need to buy any textbooks or school supplies? And also, how often do the children use their iPads during the day? Because it was mentioned on the tour.
It's great to talk about resources. It's important. So no, you don't need to buy textbooks. We don't necessarily teach from a textbook. We'll use it as a resource, but no, you won't find children sitting behind a desk, working their way through pages and pages of textbooks. In regards to supplies, the school is very well supplied. Children don't have to worry about any of those things, but of course we know there are certain children who would love to bring in their pencil cases and their special pencils and pens, and that's okay too. So to answer that question, you don't have to worry about any of that. In regards to the iPads are used as a learning tool. We're not sitting there playing games and whatnot. Whatever we do is in the context of education and using it just like we would a pencil. We're using it as a learning tool. So it differs depending on what is happening in the year group. If there's a project happening in year 5 where they're moving, making or things like that, obviously within that period of time, it may be of a higher use. But if we're using it to help with our maths and our understanding for maths, it might only be just for, 10 minutes for that maths period. So it just depends on what we're learning, but there's never any overuse of technology, which I know there is a big concern, and particularly how we have had home-based learning because of COVID restrictions and whatnot. So we use it in a healthy way and we use it as a learning tool.
Fantastic. Actually, Nara, while you talk just quickly about home-based learning, if I can just put this next question to you as well, and it is around COVID. Do the children get to do sports and run around at lunchtime? And do they wear their masks all the time in Singapore still?
So I think being in Singapore that we're very lucky that schools are open, that our children can play because that's an important part for their mental health and well-being as well. So yes, they do go outside and play. As Emma showed in the tour this morning, they've got wonderful resources and great spaces for them to run around, play games with their friends and socialize during those break times as well as PE. So they do wear their masks during break time and whatnot, unless they're eating. But when they're eating, they're seated. We obviously follow all the government mandates and guidelines, and as they evolve, we also adjust what we need to do at school to make sure everyone's safe.
Fantastic. So then just there's another add-on from that, which is last year, did we do any home-based learning here at AIS?
We did.
Yes. Yeah, look, we were probably fortunate. We had probably about 6 weeks across, maybe not even been that long, 6 weeks across the full year. So there was a few weeks at the end of, I think, term 3 and perhaps at the end of term 1. But we were very fortunate. Consider ourselves very lucky living in such a country that really looks out and has rules in place to protect the health of all.
Fantastic. And can I remember rightly, Emma, were our prep students still in school in the home-based learning time?
Yeah, so the prep is part of elementary, but they're in our state-of-the-art early learning village building. So because of that, they actually did still attend school. But we were very, very fortunate in that it wasn't for a long period of time.
Fantastic. A family here is asking about those activities that students can get involved in after school and what does the school offer there? Would you be able to just talk a little bit, Emma, about what sports and activities that we do have on offer?
Certainly can. I can talk about it from my position, but also from a mother of 2 daughters, and I'm sure you could too, Elle. As I said in my opening this morning, the school doesn't sleep. It is, 6:30 through to 7. There is every activity in the sporting arena. It's almost what sport don't we cater for? Also the arts, and of course COVID has impacted, but it's just if you're part of the school at the moment, you can feel the vibe, you can feel the energy coming back. In the afternoon, the playground's awake again. So we've got a range of sporting, range of robotics, Minecraft, the arts. And usually what we say to parents is if there's a particular interest that we're not catering for, please let our coordinator of co-curricular know. Patricia Barnes does an outstanding job in that role. She's really grown the CCAs at AIS. Contact her and she does her best to accommodate.
Fantastic. Are all of those CCAs booked that students have to have their parents there? Or is there a CCA that covers like an after school care too? And if so, what time does that stay open till, please?
Yep. And from experience, my daughter goes to gymnastics in the afternoon for that very reason. So there's most of the sporting ones at the moment start straight after school for that convenience as parents. And it usually goes for an hour to an hour and a half. So it would go from 3:30 or 3:45 through to 4:30, 4:35, 5. And then the parents would pick up at particular gates. We do also have an extended care. I'm not sure if that question was coming up, Elle. Extended care for our prep year 1 and year 2 students from 3:30 through to 6. That's a new initiative that's just started this year as well.
Fantastic. Now, one for you around lunchtimes again. Obviously, Singapore is very hot. Can the kids stay in the classroom at lunch or do they run around outside, or is there other things that they can do also?
I think because of the way the school is built, we have that opportunity to actually cater for all those needs. Some of the CCAs are run through lunchtime. They're also able to go to the library. There's teachers also running clubs at times, but also there's a lot of areas which have got great shade if children don't want to be out in that full sun, but also they wear their hats too.
Fantastic. And also parents, your admissions manager can also send you through a full list of all of the different CCAs that we do have available, so you can have a look and see, what your child likes. my daughter's in year 4 and she took up rainbow weaving, and I wasn't sure what that was, but I can't believe all of the different things that are on offer. There's so much to choose from, which is really, really lovely. Emma, I've got one around the school bus. Could you just explain how that works? We've got a family here who's got a little boy in prep, and mum just wants to know, how does he get to his classroom if he's on the school bus, please?
Yeah, look, our bus system is second to none. I remember when I first came here almost 5 years ago, and it was almost like I'm from Sydney, Australia, and it looked at me like Sydney Airport, but it runs like clockwork. So what happens is your child will go on the bus. We have staff that will meet them, especially our prep students, staff that will meet our prep students at the bus area, and we walk them to the early learning village and to their classroom. We do find, though, we're into week 5 at the moment in term 1, and our preps confidently can walk from the bus bay up to their classroom. Also be mindful there are many adults along that way. So, you know, there's people looking out for them, but 5 weeks in, you know, credit, they're pretty independent, but we still do have staff there if support's needed.
Fantastic, thank you. One question here was around a starting time. We've got a family here that their visas haven't come through yet to get entry into Singapore, so they're going to be running probably a little bit late. They were planning to start their child at the beginning of term 2, but it might be a little bit later. Can their children start during the school term?
Yes, look, we've had a couple of incidents, especially with COVID and borders and getting back to start at the beginning of this term. So there have been allowances made, and we work in close contact with admissions to ensure that happens. And where we can, we do provide some work in that interim period.
Fantastic. Families, we will be wrapping up this session quite shortly. So if you do have any other questions, please just pop them in the chat function and we'll just cover them now. We've got one question here around bullying and how does that look in school, and how does the teachers get involved to help with any disputes in the classroom or in the playground, please?
Take that one. Yeah. Look, as Meryl mentioned, we probably go from a proactive approach. So we pride ourselves on that well-being and welfare of the child. We will term it academic well-being. So we really promote that with our classes, with our teachers. But we're a school, and that happens in every school. So while we teach to be a proactive approach, what we have in place is what we refer to as restorative practices and restorative justice. And in that sense, it's actually working with the child, talking with them, debriefing, contacting the parents if needed. And of course, we've also got bullying policies in place and behavioural policies in place if needed. So there are definitely procedures we follow as a school. Our staff are informed and engaging professional learning around those because sometimes that does happen. But I think we pride ourselves on building that and cultivating that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that sense of well-being and academic welfare, and take that proactive approach. But we also have policies and procedures that we follow.
And just from that, one of our parents has asked about the communication between parents and teachers and how often that is, and in what form does that happen in?
Communication here is, you know, a very big school. We have different forms of communication. So we have whole school communication. If you're in prep to year 12, that goes out fortnightly. As head of elementary, I try to send out some communication every week just to give an update on different initiatives, different events that are occurring. At a classroom level, our teachers send out a class newsletter every fortnight. And that gives an overview of what's happening in that particular grade. At the moment, we've got approximately 7 to 8 classes per grade. So every parent would receive a grade newsletter Friday fortnight, and that would come with a collection of photos. We know text speaks, but photos speak louder. And I think, you know, as parents, we just want to see our children happy in the learning spaces, and especially now that up until now, parents haven't been able to get into those learning spaces.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ladies. That's all the questions that we have for today. Our families, thank you so much for joining us today. Every time I get on one of these calls, I learn stuff as well about the school. I've been here for 4 years, so it's really wonderful to hear from the academic teams. You will have your admissions managers will follow you up with any further questions that you may have. But again, thank you very much for our academic staff and also for all the parents who were able to join us today. To leave this call today, parents, there's a down in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a little red button that says leave. You just need to press that and you will exit the call. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Elle. Thanks to everyone. Have a great day. We look forward to meeting you soon.
Bye.
Bye.